Deck building has always been one of the most fun parts of Yu-Gi-Oh! For me. Ever since I first started out, I've always loved coming up with various new lists and testing them out against my opponents. And in Yu-Gi-Oh! GX, they introduced a certain character who embodies this part of the hobby. In a world where everyone's a reincarnation, or a billionaire, or the inheritor of some dueling legacy, he's just an ordinary guy who knows when to play the right card at the right time. A character so goated, I named my channel after him, and also have him as my third favourite Yu-Gi-Oh! Character after Tem and Yugi. Everyone's talked enough about how the show writers hoed him, but this video here, it's dedicated to appreciating this legendary character and explaining to you guys why I like him so much. Without further ado, let's get into why Daichi Misawa is the GOAT! Right from the get-go, Misawa was a character that represented something completely new. He wasn't the loyal best friend who'd always be a few steps behind the protagonist, nor was he the malicious rival who traded all positive personality traits for some pricey cards and a cool jacket. He was just another good duelist that Judai crossed paths with, one who earned his prestige out of nothing but his own knowledge of the game, and I loved that. Having a friendly rival for the protagonist made for such a fun dynamic, especially in the wacky school setting of early GX. Oh, and speaking of Misawa's dynamic with Judai, let's look a bit further into that because there's some interesting stuff there. The anime depicts Judai and Misawa as the dragon and the tiger, which is foreshadowing for Judai bagging a dragon in his past life and Misawa bagging a tiger in his current life. Okay. Jokes aside. In Taoism, the dragon and the tiger are a yin-yang sort of thing. The dragon represents chaos and the tiger represents order. Two sides of the same coin that act as foils to each other. And this mirrored nature is represented in so many fun ways with these two duelists. Judai has his chaotic playstyle where he believes in his cards, has fun, and eventually starts drawing power from his inner darkness, while Misawa of course has his orderly playstyle solely focused around tactics and equations. Judai's hero deck is themed around the elements of nature, while Misawa's bonding deck is themed around those of the periodic table. And of course, while Judai has his one deck with all 6 attributes that focuses on the fusion mechanic, Misawa has 6 decks with each one representing a different attribute, and combines his monsters using alternate, non-fusion related means. But enough about Misawa's duality with Judai because there is a lot more about his character to love. For me personally, he redefined what it meant to be the smart one of the group. All throughout my youth, I was beaten over the head with the message that if you were smart, that came at the cost of your physical strength, your charisma, and any other desirable trait a human can have, really. Everyone was pushing this 24/7, from the media I consumed to the adults in my life. But Misawa? He said no to that. Yes, he likes maths equations, yes, he stays up all night thinking of the perfect deck list, but he also takes care of himself physically, being a menace at baseball and also being surprisingly jacked. Being smart never stopped him from being cool. He was the ace of raw yellow, a man who always looked out for his friends and dormmates. There were also plenty of times when his intelligence was the key to saving everybody, like in the Dimension World arc, where his tactical knowledge helped to hold off the duel zombies, and his scientific knowledge was crucial to getting everybody back home. And also, his over-the-top theatrics made him so fun to watch. He's always doing crazy stuff, whether it's the iconic 6 decks reveal, or waking up his friends with Barrel Dragon for some early morning draw exercises, whatever benefit that gives you. Best of all, he owned it every step of the way. Misawa's flaws also make him super interesting to me. His tactical mind might be perfect, but other parts of his mind do trip him up quite a bit. To see what I'm talking about, look no further than his last 2 fully on-screen duels. In both cases, he had the cards on the field to win. But against Tanya, he lost because he was too focused on trying to convince himself he's not in love with her, instead of, focusing on the duel. And against Manjome, he threw the game because if he lost, the Society of Light would accept him into their ranks. Misawa might pride himself on his order and logic, but people aren't 100% orderly and logical. And instead of dealing with his crushes or insecurities in a healthy way, He lets them take over his life and spiral out of control. He even starts to become resentful towards Judai, because he has the fame and attention that he so desperately wants. Thankfully though, Misawa gets snapped out of his funk by a duel between his lifelong hero Dr. Zweinstein and Judai. The best part of this exchange is that Zweinstein loses, which leaves Misawa with a bit of a dilemma. The guy he's become super jealous of has just defeated his all-time hero. So what does he do in response? Well, he strips naked and starts running across campus, but more importantly, he realizes he's been wasting his energy on such insignificant things. Yes, Zweinstein lost, but Misawa was still awestruck by the Doctor's tactical dueling. He sees there's more to this game than winning or losing, just as there's more to life than gaining the recognition of others. He doesn't need to be part of the Society of Light to be great. He can be great doing his own thing. And this realization is enough for him to break free of the Society's influence all on his own, which is pretty impressive given, the whole Lovecraftian entity from outer space possessing people's minds and all that. And he goes off to find Zweinstein and essentially ask him for an internship. Wait. Nonconformism? Extreme feats of willpower? Acting completely on impulse? These are more chaotic actions that I'd expect to see from Judai. Yep. In order to grow as a person, the tiger has started to embrace his inner dragon. He realizes that in dueling and in life itself, order and chaos aren't just opposites. They're two parts of a greater whole that coexist together. And this culminates in my favourite scene in the entirety of GX, which takes place shortly after Judai stops being the Supreme King. There had been hints all throughout the first half of the show that Judai was some sort of chosen one, and in the Dimension World arc it gets revealed that he is. Just with the slight drawback that if he loses control of himself, the power he inherited will turn him into a genocidal maniac, which he finds out the hard way. After he reverts back to normal thanks to the Ioboracalcum, he very understandably can't live with himself anymore. When he gets jumped by one of his former underlings, Guardian Bao, he starts losing badly. Not because he doesn't have the cards to beat Bao, or because he doesn't know how to use them, but because those cards are now synonymous with him being the Supreme King. As a self-inflicted punishment for the atrocities he committed, Judai is purposefully throwing the duel, knowing full well that if you lose a duel in the Dimension World, you straight up die. Remember when this was like a fun and silly show about school? That they had to fight a monkey and deal with school bullies, and yeah, me neither. Anyways, Judai is losing the duel because his own mind is holding him back. Where have we seen this before? Has there been a character who kept losing, admittedly less serious duels for this exact same reason? And has that character matured as a person to the point that he... Yes, he has. Misawa arrives on the scene right as Judai is about to lose to Bao, and gives him the bro talk that not only saves his life, but also teaches him how to keep on saving the world whenever it's needed. He tells Judai that he has to accept his inner darkness. Whether he likes it or not, he is the current incarnation of the Supreme King. And ending his own life? That's not going to bring back all the ones he took. The best thing he can do is take on the responsibility of his inherited power and control it, so he can start using it for good this time around. To put it simply, Misawa tells Judai that he needs to bring some order to the chaotic power of the Supreme King. This right here, it cements why Misawa's my favourite in Yu-Gi-Oh! GX. Yes, he screws up. Yes, he's not always in the spotlight. But no matter what, he keeps on being the dependable smart guy who looks out for his friends. He learns to grow as a person by accepting both sides of the human experience. And what does it all lead to? Him teaching his friend the lessons he learned when that friend needed it the most. Would I have wanted to see more of Daichi Misawa? Well, duh, we only saw 2 of his 6 decks in action. But at the same time, what we did get was so awesome that I can comfortably say he's the GOAT of Yu-Gi-Oh! GX. Thank you for listening.